In this tutorial, we're going to be going through the takeoff procedures for flying the Boeing 737. The first thing that I'd like to have you do before we go to your flight deck is I'd like to have you change your airport to Miami International Airport, and its call sign is KMIA. And once you get there, if you can change the runway to 27 left, that's what we'll be using, or 27L. I'll wait a second so you can have that done, and then we'll proceed, with the tutorial. Okay, once you have that done, the first thing that you want to look at over here is your N1 gauge under your engines. You want to make sure that on this gauge here that when we're accelerating the aircraft, you do not want to go above 94%. If you do, and even on a real aircraft, it's a very good possibility that you could melt the turbines. So as we accelerate the aircraft, we'll be watching the N1 gauge to make sure that we do not exceed 94%. So be sure to locate the gauge and be sure that we do that. Okay. The next thing that we want to do is look at our heading. Right now we're at 270 degrees. So we're going to be changing that 270 degrees on our heading indicator and our course indicator gauges. Right now we'll go up to the heading indicator gauge and we'll change it there. Go to 270 degrees and set that. Once we set that, we'll go to the course indicator and we'll set that at 270 degrees. As you can see, that both the course arrow and the heading arrow are both set at 270 degrees, which is exactly what we want. That's the exact position of the runway. The next thing we want to do is set our indicated airspeed to 154 knots. This is the indicated airspeed we'll be using on takeoff. Now wait till you get that set. Now go over to your altitude and set that at 5,000 feet. That's what we'll be flying at when we initially take off from Miami International. Okay. Now go over to your auto brake, and I'd like to have you take the switch and turn it to RTO, and that's reject takeoff. Once you set that, we'll set the FD switch to on and the AT switch to on. That's auto throttle. On my instrument panel, you'll notice that the FD switch is on and the AT switch is on, and also the green light is lighting up on the side of the AT switch. Now at this point, that we have these gauges all set, we'd like to make sure that you want to look at your airspeed as we're going down the runway. 127 knots, you're at the point of no return. 129 knots or better, you want to pull back on your stick to lift the nose of the plane. So make sure you watch that over on the left-hand corner where my cursor is right now. Here you'll see the bars showing the degree of lift. We want to go to 20 degrees as we're lifting the aircraft off on initial takeoff. And also, you want to watch, like I said, the airspeed, down the runway. And a lot of things will start happening as we start moving the plane. The next thing that we want to do, we want to set our flaps on the Boeing 737-400. You want to make sure that the flaps are set anywhere between 5 and 15 on takeoff. I like setting my flaps, on takeoff at 5. You can set yours again at 5 to 15. It doesn't matter. So by clicking it once, we go to 1. Clicking it twice, you go to 2, and then clicking it the third time, you go to 5. Also, if you look down here, you'll see that your flaps are now set at 5 down here on your lever. The next thing that we want to do is that we want to make sure that after we do liftoff, you want to click gear up or hit the G on your keyboard to lift the gear in your plane to create more lift. turn on your beacon, turn on your strobe, and also turn on your taxi lights. Now at this point we're going to start increasing throttle. Once we get, like I said, to around 94% on the N1 engine, then we'll start, actually releasing the brake, and we'll start taxiing down the runway. And when we get to 127, it's the point of no return. 127 knots, will be, or better, will be our liftoff speed. So make sure as your plane is going down the runway that you're going to keep an eye on the knots, on how fast you're going on the runway itself. Here we go, we're on movement at this point. Keep your plane straight. Try to keep it as straight as possible down the center of the runway. Watch that speed. And you can see I'm lined up with the center, which is good. That's where we want to be. I'm keeping an eye on my speed over here on the left-hand side. And there's our liftoff. Nice liftoff at this time. Good job. Well done. Lift up your gear and we're good to go. I brought my flaps back. We're going to be climbing to 5,000 feet. And you successfully now took off with the Boeing 737-400. Nice job. Bringing my speed to 210 knots. Enjoy the flight. And now at this time I'll bring my flaps back to 0, and we're good to go. And we'll follow our course, set my autopilot, and we're on lift, and we're on our flight. See you later. Bye.